There we go. There we go. Yes, everyone, how are we all doing? Just want to check if the live stream is all active and if everyone can see and hear me all clearly. Please let me know in the chat. Just stick a 1 in the chat because the video is slightly delayed. So you may be hearing this, of course, after I've already said it. So we're just going to be getting used to the new interface. Of course, going through YouTube is going to be something that I really want to start to bring to these calls that we take. And of course, everybody was voting for a new Monday mindset, and that we can start to do midweek mindset, so we can start to have more of these calls happening throughout the week to keep our mind fortified and keep ourselves vibrating at the right levels. So guys, just please let me know in the chat if you can all see and hear me all good. I just want to make sure everything is working clear on my end, as I'm just getting used to how this kind of interface all works. Okay, amazing. I can see some ones. Everyone's saying all good. So love and appreciate everyone that is in so far. We will get started pretty quick, but first of all, just please make sure that you have sent this link out to any of your team, any people that you are working with, anyone you want to help inspire, give information to get to that next level. Please send them over the link, and then we will get rocking in the next couple minutes. But up until that point, we're still going to run it up with our similar structure of how we do operate on these calls. So, of course, please let me know in the chat one thing you are feeling grateful for this week. How is everybody feeling? How's your week going so far? We're now at Wednesday, which most people call hump day, but we're here to lift those vibrations. We're here to get ourselves aligned with the path that we are heading onto. We are trying to align ourselves right now with that future version of ourselves that we want to step into our reality. So, guys, let me know in the chat, how is everybody feeling halfway through the week so far? Grateful to live near the sea. Amazing, bro. Just want to see how this is looking on here, because it does look very interesting on my end. So I just want to see how things are looking for you guys. See, there's a little bit of a delay, but I'm assuming everything's looking good for everyone on the other side. Again, we're going to get started in literally just a couple minutes, so please ensure you've sent the link out to everybody inside of your organizations, because I'm pretty sure this call is going to be packed out with people from EGM for the first ones. But of course, the anticipation that I've really got with these calls is for us to be able to expand the information reach that we have, because of course it's very valuable for us to be able to put these calls on live for people in EGN. We have them happening every week. People get familiar with hearing this information, but the people that need to hear it most are the people that aren't inside of our organization yet. They're the people that are seeking change, they're seeking growth, they're seeking ways to better their life, and right now maybe they don't know where to go. And that's why we already know, for most of the people on this call, will be aware that EGN is the place for people to elevate, grow, and inspire other people to be better, to get to that next level, and to align themselves with who it is they're trying to become, and also create that life that they're looking to do. So I actually titled this stream, I wanted to talk specifically about why you are in the place you are, why you are not so much stuck here, but why you're being held in place as opposed to being held back. So what happens with most people, and we've probably all used this language, I want to get straight into it. I don't want to waste any time. I want us to get right in with it. So this is going to be interactive, of course. Please ensure you are using the chat. What's the link? You should be able to grab it from the top, bro. It should say share somewhere. You should be able to grab the link. But and also it's in the Discord if you are looking for it, and it'll be in other chats. But anyway, as I say, I appreciate everybody having the patience as well with us now leveraging YouTube and able to really utilize the other platforms that we have access to go out and inspire other people. So, of course, as I mentioned with this, the topic being why you are being held in place as opposed to being held back. Now, this is going to be a topic that interaction is going to be very important, because I want to ensure that this is landing right, because I'm pretty sure most people will be on the call mainly because they're seeking some kind of information. They're seeking some kind of guidance. Maybe you've joined the call tonight to seek some information, the missing piece to why you feel that you are where you are, although despite you are putting in all the effort you possibly can, you're manifesting, you're affirming every single day, you're putting it out to the universe, God, the higher power, whatever it is you believe in, that you want to be bigger, better, and have more, do more, and be more, but yet it just doesn't seem to be appearing in your life right now. And that can feel almost like a level of tension between you and the reality you're trying to step into. And I talk a lot about the inner world, and I speak a lot about the reality you're creating, and I speak a lot about vibrations and all these types of things. But I'm pretty sure we can all agree at this point that energy is very real. Energy can be felt between people. And if people don't really believe in energy in that kind of sense, the thing that is powering my device right now that I'm speaking to you guys on, we can arguably say there's energy being transferred from a circuit breaker into my plug socket, into my computer, so I can deliver this kind of energy to you guys. And I appreciate all the interaction that's happening right here, saying it's literally what I feel like right now, Shiv. And I really am grateful that this is going to land for you, because clearly you've come on this call seeking some kind of answer. And it's like, why am I doing so much? Why am I plugging in to the mindset? Why am I reading the books? Why am I praying every day? Why am I affirming every morning, but I still feel stuck? And what that can then actually be is kind of the way you start to then act, and what can then be from that is you actually conditionalize your work ethic based on the way you feel. Now, can anybody agree that there's times when you're questioning, why am I doing so much and getting nothing back? And that almost demotivates you. That almost makes you be more attracted to the idea of procrastination. You think, well, seeing as nothing seems to be happening right now, maybe I should just chill anyway. Maybe I should just stop pushing so hard anyway. Maybe I should just stop applying so much pressure to myself anyway. Can anybody relate to that feeling? Because it's very, very obvious to other people, more so, not so much to ourselves, that when we do get that demotivated state, we question, what is the point in even pushing this hard anymore? And I'm not starting off with low vibes and asking questions and getting everyone to completely rethink where they are right now. But what I really want to do is help you understand, first of all, you are understood. And secondly, everybody is probably experiencing the exact same thing. And it's not just a case of, oh, when you get to this new level, it disappears. New levels, new devils is very, very real. When you get to that next level, if we haven't worked on all of the underlying foundational principles that need to be developed to help us overcome every hurdle we face going through our journey, because when you get to that next point, the goalpost is always going to move. The next thing is always going to become more attractive. You're going to get to a certain income, all of a sudden you want to double it. You're going to be able to live anywhere in the world, all of a sudden you want to live somewhere else. It's just natural in life for us to always want to grow and become more, right? I'm pretty sure if you're on this call right now, that is who you are. That can align with the way you think, the way you feel. And why I titled this specifically, why you are being held in place and not being held back, is to break a giant misconception that we all have. Now, there is a big difference between being held back from something and being held in place, but can we all agree that the habits that we have right now, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, the daily actions that we take, essentially are creating who we are right now as characters, as people? We can all agree. It's very self-explanatory and it's very logical, right? Who I am, what I do, what I think, what I feel is creating what I am perceiving as my own reality. We can all agree that's true, right? And with that being the case, and the way that we are seeing that as the way that we are, the problem is we are not actually allowing ourselves to detach from the things that are keeping us stuck. It is not so much, what do I need to change? What do I need to start doing to get to the next level? It is, what am I willing to let go of that is keeping me at this one? That's the conversation that most people aren't having. That is the uncomfortable conversation, or maybe even the conversation that isn't being discussed enough. Where it's not so much of, I need to start going to the gym, I need to start doing these different actions. It is, what do I need to stop doing so I can stop being who I am now and step into that new identity? Because I had a very interesting conversation with somebody earlier, something very, very similar to this, where he was saying, man, I'm trying so hard. I've got my goals written down. I'm ready to go to the next level. Why am I stuck where I am? And the conversations that we then had from this point on, I asked him, I said, look, man, read me your goal list. Tell me what it is exactly you want to achieve. And put a 1 in the chat if you've got your goals written down. You know your definite chief aim or purpose right now. You know at least one thing you are heading out and trying to attain in your life of some description, whether it's fitness related, whether it's finances related, whether it's business related. Everyone has got some kind of goal they've got in front of them. And I'll use this example in specific because this was actually very interesting when I was teaching about the power of language, how our language can actually alter the way our subconscious mind can perceive what it is we're wanting to do. What's an example of this? Using words like chasing. where we are chasing success, we are chasing growth. But when we actually look at what the word chasing represents to us, and when you hear that word chasing, what image comes from your subconscious mind to the conscious screen at the front of your mind straight away? You imagine something moving away from you and something going towards it, right? Something chasing after something, trying to bring it back. That means it's moving away from you. If you are chasing something, it means something is moving away from you. So when we are chasing success, it means that we believe that we are behind it and it is beyond us. So by using bits of language like that, it is negatively charging the way you are thinking about it, and then you question why things aren't changing. Why am I stuck where I am right now? Because of the simple changes and tweaks that need to be made in your language. Because we can then look on to what other goals were. One of them was become debt free. Now, for a lot of people, when they hear the word debt, that emotionally charged word brings to the front of your mind from the subconscious all of these negative times, experiences, things that will relate to that word. It can even go back to childhood when you asked your parents to buy you something from a shop. You started circling everything in an Argos catalogue saying, I want this for Christmas. And they said, we can't afford that because we got to pay our debts. We can't go and do this. We can't go on that holiday. You can't have this money to go out with your friends because I'm in debt. So immediately you built a very negative relationship with that word and negatively charged that word to the point that when it comes to the front of your mind, the subconscious brings forward all of these vivid emotions, memories. Can you guys relate to this? It brings forward times where you have experienced that emotion, maybe even your adult life, where you can experience times in your life where you've said, oh, I'm in debt, I'm trying to get out of this situation, trying to get out of that situation. And then we start to really dive ourselves into more of a negative state, thinking we are doing all of the right things to help us move out of our situation by writing it down, affirming, I'm so happy and grateful now, I'm debt free. The reason why that doesn't work is what state of vibration is that being spoken from if the emotion attached to the word is a negative one. Because we can only step forward into a new reality if we're willing to let go of the things that are currently holding us back. So I'm not just going to throw information at you guys. I'm not just going to say loads of things and then you'd be left thinking, okay, cool. Now I'm thinking of 100,000 different things. I'm a little bit more aware now, but what do I actually do? And why is this happening to me? I want to talk about specifically, again, for those of you that's the first time on a call with me, chances are I will go on many tangents because things just come in and we just speak. None of these are ever scripted, but they always tie in because things just feel like they need to be said. Whether you are the one person on this call that needs to hear this information or it's being landed to by everybody involved, the way that I always speak is to speak what's on my heart. And I know there's someone here that needs to hear this to help them get to that next level. Yes, exactly. So listen. When you feel like you're stuck or you start to take action, we all can agree there's been times where we've tried something new, right? Whether you've joined a new business, whether you've started personal development, whether you've started reading new books, whether you've made a decision to go to the next level, when you've started taking those actions, started going to the gym. We've all started something before. But there comes a time where you'll meet almost like a crossroads, where it's a case of, do I keep going? Is this working? And all of a sudden, all of these other emotions that you didn't anticipate coming in, because now you've got beginner's high and you're starting to feel great, you're feeling inspired, you can feel the change, but then all of a sudden you lose that motivation. And then all of a sudden, one slight inconvenience can come in and you're like, oh no, I can't do it anymore. Then you start procrastinating. Then you start getting frustrated at yourself because you know you should be doing more than you currently are, but you feel so drained that you can't do it. Have you ever experienced anything like that? Where it's like, I'm starting something new, and why am I hitting this point of resistance? I want to change, I want to grow, but why is it not happening? We've all already agreed in this call today already that we have experienced this at some point in time, but why does that happen? And we can go spiritual with it, and we can understand from a vibrational perspective and an identity perspective. Right now, when we put on paper, what is it I'm trying to do? You're trying to become a new version of yourself. Which means you are simply trying to eradicate, or we can go darker with it, destroy a current version of you that exists for a new one to become. So what that version of you does, even though if it seems very, very logical for you to keep doing the work, keep doing the actions, keep pushing through, keep persevering, use grit, stay hard, do all these like cool things that have been put out into the world, and we can use them as internal mantras to keep ourselves fired up. But at the end of the day, your energy is always going to be the dictator of the power that is involved with taking that next step. Because if you're feeling completely drained and burned out, you can't perform your best, can you? If you feel absolutely exhausted, you can put on a front for as long as you can, but it's going to get to a point where you're like, I cannot perform anymore. I can't do this anymore. I need a break. I'm burnt out. And what that actually is almost like a discrepancy between what it is you want to do and what your energy can allow you to do. Again, this stuff is very straightforward and easy to digest, hopefully. But what is actually happening is your old identity is trying to hold you in place because it sees change as a threat. So what is happening when this is going on inside of us in the subconscious mind? Let me use an example. Everybody sat there right now listening to this call, plugged in, listening. Chances are you're at home, you're in an environment you feel safe in. You're probably not listening into this call, looking over your shoulder, worrying, is someone going to burst into my house and steal all my things or threaten my life? I'm not under threat right now. I feel pretty calm, right? We can all agree. Hopefully that's everybody's situation right now. But most people will be chill, listening to this information, not feeling alert about what's going on around them because they're in an environment they feel comfortable in. But if someone came charging into your house, all of a sudden, you're going to be feeling alert and you're going to feel threatened. Why is that relevant to when you're trying to change your identity and shift into a new version of you? Because the current version of you that is fed by your energy, your habits, your thoughts, your feelings, it doesn't need to feel threatened because you are continuing to feed that identity with the same substances that you already do. So with the procrastination, with the doom scrolling, with the lack of self-belief, all of these things are negative, but that is the fuel for your current identity. And when you sit back and you ask yourself, how long have I really been myself? How long have I been the way I am? You can look back. For some people, that could be 10 years. For some people that ain't got that many years on them, that could be 5 years, 2 years. You could be exactly who you are right now. You could have been the exact same for all of that time. So that is a version of you that wakes up every single day and habitually does the same stuff without even have to think about it. So now that you're making a decision to change, that version of you that has been designed to keep you safe and keep you comfortable all of a sudden feels threatened. It feels under attack. So what does it now need to do? It needs to attack your energy to prevent you attacking it with your new energy. So how do those attacks look on a spiritual level or even on a mental level? Depleted energy. By convincing you that you can't go and do the things that you can do. By reminding you of all the negative things that you're trying to escape from. From reminding you that you tried once before and you failed. By bringing all of these old things that have been buried deep in your subconscious mind that you didn't want to face, you didn't want to talk about, you didn't want to discuss. It's bringing it all to the front, hoping to distract you, to pull you away from stepping into this new version of yourself that exists. Because we all know how easy it is to develop a new habit, but we also know how easy it is to fall back into old ones. Because developing a new habit is something that you repeat again and again and again until you can complete it on a subconscious level where you don't have to consciously think that I need to go and do this. When you go to the gym for a month in a row and you don't take a day off, we can all agree it gets to the point where it feels weird if you don't train that next day. You've been consistent for 30 days. All of a sudden, it's going to feel very, very weird if you don't go to the gym the next day. Because it's a habit. You haven't done your habit. The same way when you wake up in the morning, you don't think, I think I'm going to get dressed today. I think I'm going to brush my teeth today. I think I'll have a shower. These are all subconscious prompts that your brain already knows you do because it's what the version of you does every single day. Hopefully all of you watching this call have that as an eternal prompt that you don't have to think about. But when you are stepping into this new version of you, whether it is mindset, content, personal development, whatever it is, that is a threat to your current identity because only one, if you are clinically sane, can exist at one time. So the reason why you then get those questionable doubts or why you start to see things come up and test you and things are going really, really well and all of a sudden you'll have some inconvenience happen in your life, or say everything's going really, really well and suddenly you have all these outgoings going out and you're like, I'm trying my best to get to the next level. Why am I facing so much resistance? It's because the part of you that you created without even realizing is so desperate to ensure that it stays in the front driver's seat that it will do whatever it can to prevent itself from being destroyed. So what do you do? How do you beat this enemy you can't see? How do you beat this person that's almost in control and in the driver's seat when you don't even have to think about it? By first of all, we create the awareness. We understand what is happening at a subconscious level so that we can start to become subconsciously conscious, where we are conscious without even having to think about it. How do we do that? How do we build the awareness? First of all, we understand where we are actually at. And before I go into this next phase of how we can overcome this and how we can move forward, because the point of these lives that I'm going to start doing and the content I'm creating, if you haven't been on my YouTube channel before, please make sure you check out the series I've created, the Listen to Me When series afterwards, like, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. But the videos I'm creating is under the impression and with the essence of excellence that anybody that is trying to elevate themselves in their life and understand a situation that they are in right now, they can go and find those answers in those videos. So with what we are discussing right now, of course, there may be people that listen to this like, man, I've never heard this type of thing before. What does he mean? My subconscious can be trying to attack me from preventing me going to the next level. I'm going to explain all of that going forward. But first of all, I just need to make sure, have I still got you guys? Is this all still kind of making sense? Because this chat here as well is also for questions. So please, if there's anything that doesn't make sense, anything you have questions about personally, something you're experiencing, this is open. So please be sure to engage in the chat, ask questions, and let me know. Is this all making sense so far before I go forward? Amazing. Okay, I'm very, very glad to hear it. So when we're now talking about what steps do we need to take to actually overcome what it is we're experiencing right now, how do I gain the awareness or acknowledge how I'm truly feeling so that I can move forward? Because now we can talk about our emotions, we can talk about vibrational frequencies. All of this stuff is extremely real. And I'm pretty sure we can all agree. What we think about affects how we feel, and how we feel affects what we think about. So what's an example of this? When we are feeling super motivated, super inspired, we think of times where everything was amazing, where we've seen results from this emotion before. Sorry, I had an update just come up randomly then. Can you guys all still see and hear me all good? Sorry, I had something randomly just pop up trying to update. Just let me know if you can all see and hear me all good. My laptop just bugged out for a second. Yeah, okay, perfect. Sorry, there's going to be a massive delay there. CapCut just randomly start to update. See? Attacking. Not even just subconscious. They're consciously trying to attack us. We're giving too much information out here. But listen, as I was saying, when we talk about what we think about and how our thoughts can affect our feelings, and our feelings can then affect our thoughts, when you are thinking in a state of abundance, when you're thinking about gratitude, things that you are so excited about, when you're thinking of memories that are related to great times, when I say the word holiday, you can think of amazing trips you've been on with your family. You can think of times that you've experienced amazing things with amazing people, and you're going to already feel that emotion now. You can trigger any emotion at any time. If I start to talk about times of turmoil, setbacks, losses, debts, like all these negatively charged words, not bad, that word, how you feeling, not bad, like all these things that we subconsciously just say without thinking about it and we affirm out into the world, we can think of times where they relate to times where we didn't feel good. And they can relate to times where we were questionable and where we were wondering, is it ever going to work? Am I ever going to succeed? I've invested so much time into this. I've invested so much money into this. I'm really trying. My sweat equity is so high. Am I ever going to see the result? And that can all be triggered by the way that we are thinking, which affects how we're feeling. So how do we now actually go and we start to win against this enemy that we have, which is the identity we have inside of our subconscious mind? How do we win? By creating the awareness, first of all, that what we are experiencing is natural and it is a good thing. So when you start to see those moments of procrastination, where they happen naturally now, and you could be doom scrolling for 2 hours, and you've got to really think to pull yourself out of it, because let's be real, all of us have done it, where we sit there on our phones, we'll just be scrolling, an hour will pass, and we're like, oh my, is that the time? Is that how much time's gone already? Wow, I need to do something. I had all these jobs to do, and we get so lost in the distractions, which are, again, they're their own thing. Reasons why we allow ourselves to get distracted is because we don't want to focus on things that are happening right now. And that, again, is a way for our subconscious to keep us comfortable, because it's feeding us all the things that is going to prevent us from growing. So when we're like, oh man, I know that I need to go take that call. I know I need to go listen to that audio, read that book. Let me just check Instagram real quick. And all of a sudden your dopamine receptors are like, yeah, we're going to sit here for some time. Let's be here for a little while. Let's not think about what it is we want to become. Let's not think about what we want to achieve. All of these threats that are going to change who we are. Let's not think about those. Does that feel relatable? Where now you can start to understand it and it can make sense. We can stop actually attacking ourselves and understand that isn't me. That is a past version of me that is frightened to be let go of. So it's not who you are. It is current actions that are being taken against you to stop you becoming who it is you're setting out to be. So by becoming aware and us understanding what is happening to me right now. Okay, I am now aware I'm procrastinating. Okay, let me sit with myself and understand why this could be happening. All this is to keep me comfortable, to prevent me going to the next level. And whether that's seen as a coping mechanism or a way to justify about how you're thinking or just a way to supplement how you're feeling momentarily, as long as it's enough to snap you out of that period of inaction and not following through on the things you said you were going to do long after the mood that you said it in had passed, that's enough to get you going again. It's about having that prompt mentally on a conscious level to feed the subconscious to turn it into a habit. Because imagine a life where you don't have to tell yourself, I need to go and take the actions that are going to help contribute to my growth. Where every day is just natural. Where every day you just don't even think about it, you just get them done. All the tasks that feel like such a heavy burden on you right now, having to read a book, having to tune into calls, having to speak to people. Imagine if those things were no longer I have to and they were reframed to I get to, because you've built such an amazing relationship with the growth and the results that come from those actions. How do you think you would feel every single day? Let me know. Let me know how you think you would actually feel if from a subconscious level you didn't have to force yourself to do things that contributed to growth. They just naturally happened every day. And you could start to see the evidence of your actions. And they would turn up in positive results, in positive emotions, in ways that you're thinking and feeling. Because we can talk a lot about like why the awareness is so important, because you can't fix something if you're unaware it's even broken. I'm pretty sure we can all agree that, right? We can all agree that there's things that we are doing right now, experiencing right now, that if they were different and we could feel better and think different, I'm pretty sure we'd get a better result. So by creating that awareness, now we can start to take action with it. And each time, the attacks, they're going to feel bigger. Because the more you progress, the more of a threat it's going to feel. And how can I really put this into a way in your mind where you can really perceive what it is I'm trying to say? Has there ever been a time where you feel like you're at the breakthrough point? Not breaking point, breakthrough point. Where you feel like you're just on the verge of everything changing. You start to see a lot of people on this call are going to be traders. So you start to see your trading account growing. You start to see your followers growing by you're creating content. You're starting to see the results turn up in the physical world. You're starting to see all of this stuff happening. And all of a sudden, you start questioning, when's it all going to go wrong? When is this all going to fall back? When am I going to lose? You're anticipating defeat. You're anticipating things going wrong through the pattern recognition you've created, where you've tried so many times to make a change. You've tried so many times to break through from this current situation into the next level. But for some reason, you always seem to pull back into that range that you're so used to. You pull back to that level of support and then you push back to resistance, and all you're doing is ranging in that zone. Have you ever experienced that? And you're questioning again and again, why can't I just break through? And it can be something as simple as a specific number in a bank account. Every time you save up to a certain number, all of a sudden you spend everything. Or when you're trading in your trading account, all of a sudden you see that you're getting to 4 figures, 5 figures in your account, and all of a sudden you blow it. You go all the way back. Why does that happen? Because every time you get closer and closer, subconsciously your brain is like, I need to keep us safe because we do not know what happens on the other side of this, which leads me to the title of my next video. The fear of success is the next video coming out in the series, because following on from that, I'm going to be explaining why every single video that I've created actually is part of an ecosystem that builds us up on a foundational level. So how we can master self-worth, master confidence, master the fear of success, master self-sabotage, imposter syndrome, overcome all of these things so that when we move forward for our next levels, we already have everything we require. And when we have fear of success, to a lot of people, they actually can't even understand. Why would I be scared of winning? Why would I be scared of money? That doesn't even make sense. Why would I be scared? A little money would change my life right now. Why would I be scared of that? Why would I be afraid of all the blessings that I'm praying for? Because your brain is wired to keep you safe. And safety is created through routine and repetition. And when you go to the next level, your brain is unfamiliar of what the next level can look like because it's not experienced it before. So it now has a negative relationship with growth. Even though logically and emotionally it makes sense to have a better life, to have the results, to have the rewards. But on a personal level, it feels scary. Because it's like, well, when I get to that next level, what do I do then? What do I then do? And it's the same as always. You build a new range and then you push forward. But to the brain, it doesn't always understand that. So how can we prepare for that next level right now? How can we not just set goals that we want to achieve, but set goals that we can achieve and live as if we've already achieved them? By getting in vibrational alignment with who it is we want to become. By getting in that state and we get in that mind frame that we're living and speaking from memory. Because I did this exercise again with a client I spoke to earlier on, and we were talking about his goals and identifying himself as this character, this individual that he's aiming to become and who we're letting go of and what needs to happen. And we're speaking again about like lack of mentality and all of these things. But when I said to him, read your goals, how do they make you feel? He's like, yeah, they make me feel pretty good. I was like, okay, one of his goals was to take his family on holiday. He said, I want to be able to take my whole family away, treat them. I said, amazing, where do you want to take them? He was like, I'm not quite sure, maybe here. I was like, okay, cool. Whereabouts are you going to go there? I don't know. Okay, well, where do you want to eat? I don't know. I haven't checked it out. There was no definite chief aim or purpose tied to the plan of the goal. It was just, I just want to do that. Then I said to him, okay, have you ever taken him away before? He said, yeah. I said, where'd you go? He said, Turkey. And his energy is low at this point. And I'm going to explain the relevance, but his energy was low when he was telling me what he wanted to achieve in his goals, which shows me why they haven't turned up in the physical yet, because the energy speaking about them wasn't uplifting. His emotion he was in was almost like, I want to be able to do it, but right now I can't. So instead of framing this as something I'm so excited to achieve, I'm feeling sad that I haven't yet done it. So when we're talking about an emotional scale and how we can vibrate at a higher level, can you see why your goals are not manifesting in your physical reality yet? Because you're not even in alignment emotionally with them on a spiritual or mental level. Because you're looking at your goals thinking, why haven't I achieved them? And you're creating this internal state of frustration, which is one of the lowest emotions on a vibrational scale. So where you are right now, you're actually attracting without even knowing it. And you're just getting more frustrated. Why ain't it happening? Why ain't it happening? One, you're not trusting the process. And two, because you're not in emotional alignment with what it is you need to do to become who it is you're trying to become. And here's the example. When I'm saying to him, when you took him away last time, where did you go? He said, I went here. So what's the name of the hotel? Told me straight away. Where did you eat? There was a restaurant next door. What did you have for dinner? I had steak, chips. What did your family have? One of them had pasta. One of them had this. One of them had that. Amazing. How long was you there for? 5 days. Where'd you fly from? Here. Where'd you land? Here. What day did you go? What date? Knew everything. He knew absolutely everything because he was speaking from memory. So a lot of you can tell me what you trained in the gym yesterday, but unless you've trained the muscle that you're about to train tomorrow before and built up a routine of what you do in the gym, you're not going to be able to tell me what it's going to look like yet. Because you're not speaking from memory. You're trying to build an idea in your mind. So he went then, when he was telling me from memory, his energy's rising. He's feeling good. He's reliving the moment. He's reliving the emotion he had when he was away with his family. And he's getting taller. His chest's popping out. He's got a smile on his face. He's like smiling, shaking his head. Like he's just remembering all these funny times, telling me, oh, there was this one day we went out on a yacht day. It was amazing. He's now speaking from memory. Okay, we've all understood that. So how can you now keep that energy into things you have not yet experienced? By tapping into our higher faculties of imagination, of visualization. How do we do that? By speaking our goals as if they have already happened. And this isn't just woo-woo or rah-rah. I literally wrote down a Bible verse about this the other day. Like, if this is your faith, fair enough. If not, just take it as information that is backing up what it is I'm already saying. So, in Mark 11:24, it says, therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. What that essentially says is, speak it into existence, and you shall receive it. Speak as if you already have it, and you will receive it, and you will see it, as if it is already yours. So can you see why speaking from a state of memory, as if it's already happened, can help you become more in alignment with what it is you're trying to do? Let me know if that's making sense. I just want to make sure I still got this on track, guys. Because this call is not just about me blasting information at people. The only reason I started doing this specifically is to ensure that people can come here and they can get results for themselves. Now they have the information they've been looking for. Because all of this has come to me from years and years and years of practice, of learning, of all kinds of things, of trying to really understand this information. First of all, for myself. Then what I realized was the more I learn about myself, the more I understand other people. And the more I understand about other people, the more I can serve other people. So this started off as me just trying to cope and me just trying to understand why am I where I am? Why can't I be better? First of all, it started as a way to treat me. Then I understood the cure. And then I could provide it to other people that are on the same mission as me and they were just looking for the way out, looking for the next level. It was Mark 11:24 was the Bible verse. I think it's the New Testament, I believe it's from, but don't quote me on that. You'll have to check. But when we're now saying about emotionalizing ourselves with our goals, after this, go and look at your goal card. If you don't have one, write one. But write it with the intention of, from memory, that everything has already happened. I've already received everything that I'm writing down right now. So when you're writing like a financial goal or whatever, when you are positively charging those emotions, you are staying in alignment with those goals. when you're looking at it from a perspective of, oh, this is what I want to achieve, first of all, you're going to build a gap in your mind of where you are now and where you want to be. And you're going to have lack of self-belief, imposter syndrome, self-sabotage. All of that is going to burst in and be like, what? You think the person that can't go to the gym 2 days in a row is going to start making 10k a month? You think the person that can't even sit on a call and take notes for information that's going to help them can go out and impact 1,000 lives? That's going to be your internal monologue, because you're going to have an internal conflict between your words and your actions. And then you're going to sit there and question, why ain't it changing? Because you're not doing the necessary steps. You're not building the internal world to reflect your external. You're not emotionalizing yourself with your goal. We've all heard the saying, if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hands. But how many of us are really sitting there and seeing our goals in our mind? How many of us are just thinking them, speaking them, anticipating them, but we never get them? Because we haven't even seen what it looks like. We've not felt what it looks like. And this is the beautiful thing about imagination, is you have the ability to sit there right now, visualize where it is you want to be. You can watch a video of someone in the Maldives and you can look at it and you can emotionalize yourself going, oh my God, look how beautiful that is. I want to experience that. And you can experience it without being there. You get to feel what that emotion will feel like before you've even gone. So what do you think, even if it's used as a coping mechanism, what's a better way to live? A life where you can tap yourself into a state of abundance. You can tap yourself into a state of your higher faculties. You can experience your dream life where you are right now, whether your bank account permits it or not. Do you think you're going to live a better quality of life? Do you think you're having a better outlook on life? Do you think you're going to suddenly start to see luck appear in your life? When you walk around and you're happier? When you walk around and you're consciously believing that you can achieve what it is you set out to do, and then it starts to wire the subconscious brain? Because the problem a lot of people have is they'll say, man, I'm affirming this and I'm thinking this stuff and I'm thinking and growing rich. I'm doing all this stuff. But visualize it like this. Your life right now, if you're not taking these necessary actions, is almost like walking into a store like Argos or Screwfix, where you've got the front desk where it's literally one person wide and a warehouse at the back that's got thousands and thousands and thousands of junk items in the back. The back warehouse is your subconscious mind, where 99% of all creation is being made. The 1% is happening in the front desk, where you're prompting what it is you want the subconscious to bring out. So if you are not in a state of abundance from the front desk, what do you think is going to come out? If you're stood at the front going, yeah, I want to have this much money a month, I want this reality, but what you're actually doing, and you're feeding the subconscious, is, I'm actually happy where I am, I'm depressed, I'm stressed, I'm frustrated. How can you be surprised when that's what comes out from out back? You'll be like, I didn't order that. I'll be like, well, that's what you put in. That's what you programmed. You might not have said it with your words, but you said it with your emotions. It's what you said with your vibration. Imagine if that was how you typed in the prompt from what comes out from the warehouse, was how you were thinking and how you were feeling. Imagine if that was what delivered what came out when you went to place an order in a store like that. You'd be way more careful, wouldn't you? You'd be like, right, before I walk in this place, let me prepare myself. I need to get fired up because I want something good to come out of there. Would you not? You'd be way more focused on what is going to come out the back. You'd say, right, I'm having a breather. I'm going to live as if it's already mine. And I'm going to walk in there and I'm going to get exactly what I asked for. You'd be more consciously aware of what you're doing. So that's how we need to start living our life. By living from, first of all, a state of consciousness, understanding. And consciousness isn't just like looking around and noticing everything that's going on around you. It's not just that. It's about having, of course, a higher state of awareness where we can actually sit with ourselves and see where we're at. And that's square one. Why is that square one? Because we can all agree that most of the time we're ignoring the awareness on purpose because we're not happy with where we are right now. So we'll distract ourselves. We'll look for ways to not have to focus. We'll look for ways to not have to be aware, to not face our situation. We'll put everything to deadlines. Oh, it's all right, I'll do that later, I'll deal with that later, deal with it later, because I don't want to deal with it right now because of how I feel. Rhonda Byrne, the woman that wrote The Secret, she actually went through a process when it came to her getting out of debt and being able to go on to become a multimillionaire. She realised that when she had debts and letters coming through, ways to keep busy, exactly. But when she had letters come through and they're saying final notice, red letter stamp, all of these types of things coming through, she didn't want to open it in that bad state because she was like, right, if I keep feeling bad about this information that's coming in, I'm going to attract more of it. She understood vibration, which is why she literally wrote what could be the modern day Bible on the law of attraction. And she actually set up a process where she's like, right, I'm going to get myself through visualization so excited that when I open this letter, I'm going to convince myself it's a check. People probably thought she was mental. She said, I know that what's come through the mail right now is telling me I owe someone money that I can't currently afford. But how about I just get myself in a better state of vibration, and I imagine as I'm opening it with excitement and anticipation that that's a check that someone's given to me. All of a sudden, she's starting to see outgoings as incomings. She's starting to see that what is actually currently holding her in place and is a detriment to her life is a way of excitement. And then what happened? As a byproduct, her income started to increase, not just because the universe delivered it to her, but because she started to feel better. She started to operate from a different plane. And for those of you that are like, man, why does this guy keep talking about vibrations? I don't believe in frequencies. I don't believe in all of that. Let me ask you a question. Are you aware that right now there's thousands of songs playing in this very room, in every room, every single person that is viewing this video in, there's music playing all around you right now. You just can't hear it. That will sound mental, but if I get a small device called a radio and I tune that into the frequency of a station, all of a sudden that little device is going to start playing the music that's around us in the air through the frequency of the vibration that is in the atmosphere. Can we all agree? We've all used a radio before, right? We all understand the concept of a radio. When we tune it in, we're going to get the station that we're tuning into. So when we're saying, oh, is vibration real? Is energy real? We have it all around us, but a little device like a radio is enough to make us believe it, but we can't believe it about ourselves. Where the human brain is almost like a supercomputer. You could run almost an entire city for a week off the power of one brain. But we don't think we have the power to create our reality. Can we understand that? Is that something people can digest from that kind of analogy? Because when we're actually viewing it as stepping into a higher state, and a heightened state, how do we maintain it? How do we keep building it? By having that conscious awareness that what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and what I'm doing, and what I'm believing is ultimately going to give me everything I want. So gamify your life. Tell yourself, I want my character to have the most enjoyment and the best fulfilled life they possibly can. So why would I not do everything that aligns with who it is they're trying to become? Through your journey so far, what's one thing you feel held you in place, and what did you do to move through it? Amazing question. Amazing question. And several things. I've been held in place by several things, and I can talk about a whole array of my journey because we're always going to be at different points and different versions of ourselves. First of all, I was being held in place by negative addictions and negative actions and negative friendship groups. I knew that if I wanted to become bigger and better, I had to surround myself with people that vibrated at a level that I wanted to vibrate at. That's nothing against the people I was hanging around with. They're still great people, and I still love and care for them, and I still speak to some of them. It's not that I had to cut them off. But we've all heard the cute saying, you are the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with most. Because their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, the way they operate will impress upon you, right? We can all agree. You spend more time with people that speak information like this, all of a sudden it's going to become your internal monologue. The dialogue you use to speak to yourself on a daily basis. That's why it's so important to expose yourself to as much information and there's enough people that can help you get to the next level. So that was the first time I experienced it. I understood not what do I need to start doing, what do I need to be willing to let go of? I needed to be willing to let go of an environment that ultimately didn't serve me, that ultimately was holding me stuck in the routine of working a job I couldn't stand, being around people that were supplementing the way I felt through humour and having a laugh and making bad decisions but laughing them off, and like what most people do to cope with their current situation. I had to remove myself. I had to be willing to endure a lonely period, spending time by myself. What did that then do? That led me to a point that most people would have turned back. Because I was under personal attack from my subconscious mind, Sam, but now you're all on your own, so what's this going to do? Now you've got to deal with everything that you've been hiding. Now you've got to deal with everything you've been compressing deep down. Now you've got to deal with those emotions, that lack of mentality, that idea that you want to be more, do more, have more, and you're not doing it. Now you've got to sit with that. So you got rid of your distractions, now what? And I fought it, and I faced it. And I learned all this information that I'm speaking about today. At one point, yes, a coping mechanism. I studied a lot of people that had been through the same journey I had, that had come from absolutely nothing and become unbelievable people in society, that had gone on to achieve bigger and better things, not just financially, but on an impact scale. People that came from situations where they were in a terrible situation as a child, and now they've gone and they've impacted and changed the world. I wanted to do that. At first, it was a coping mechanism to tell myself that if they can do it, so can I. And I almost did it with this toxic attachment to who I wanted to become at first. But what that then did was it made me so relentless in my journey and my yearn for growth that no matter what I was facing, I started to really look at things from the perspective of, this is a test of growth. This is to test how much I really want it. This is to see how committed am I to the journey. Long after the mood I set it in has passed, am I still committed to making it happen? And that was when I went through a very lonely period. And then I ended up in relationships that didn't serve me. So now I'm at phase 2. I'm in a relationship that I know doesn't serve me. I'm in a relationship that I know isn't ultimately contributing to how happy I could be and whatever else. Because yeah, at the time I felt good, but I was living in a constant state of anxiety. Because I knew there were things going on in the background behind my back, but I didn't want to face them. And as much as I, at the time, wanted to stay in that place and I wanted it to work and I wanted to try so hard to make this work out and whatever else, deep down I knew that this is preventing me from going to the next level. Because I'm in a constant state of anxiety. I'm not showing it to the world, but I'm feeling it. I'm an external out in the world. I'm a public success, but I feel like a private failure. Because when I'm sat with myself and I'm questioning, how do I get to the next level? What do I need to do? I know I need to change the state I'm feeling in. How can I do that? Removing myself from another environment, which I eventually did. And then it was again that facing of, am I going to be in a lonely period? No, that didn't happen this time. I was blessed this next time. I'm very grateful for the lessons, the trials, and tribulations that I experienced then, because what I understood was at that point, I developed in my mind enough of an understanding that we're always going through the same phases in life, man. We're either going into a storm, going through a storm, coming out of one. And at that time, what felt like I was heading into a storm, that lonely chapter, that questioning, is it going to work? Feel like I'm back at square one. I understood that I was actually coming out of a storm. That I'd been sat in one for a long period of time because I was avoiding what I needed to let go of, instead of trying to shift into what it is I needed to do to become who I wanted to be. And these are periods of my life that were holding me in place for quite some time, because I kept seeing the same results again and again. I kept seeing the same conversations again and again. I kept seeing the same thoughts again and again. And until I was willing to break the cycle would continue. Now, can anyone else relate to that? Can anyone else almost agree with the idea that there's times where we've kept ourselves in smaller ponds because it's familiar? Because we're scared of what can happen on the other side. Because we don't know it. It's unknown. It feels frightening. And again, like I already mentioned, our identity, brain, body, our internal monologue, our programming is designed to keep us safe. And with that, even though it's uncomfortable and you could be feeling unhappy and you can be feeling internally that state of anxiety, at least you know what emotion's going to come. At least you know the outcome. You want to be able to predict what's going to happen. It's like, I don't really enjoy what happens, but at least I know what happens. And that for a lot of people is, I've said this many, many times, and if you've ever heard me speak on these types of calls or in public speaking, you would have heard me say it before, but most people would rather sacrifice their happiness with being comfortable than by becoming uncomfortable with the guarantee of happiness on the other side. You have to prioritize yourself and how you're thinking and feeling. And let me just touch on something, because that question, it really shifted the call, but I think it's really important, Lewis. So I really, really appreciate you asking this question, because there could be a lot of people right now that are in positions that aren't serving them, which ties in very, very well with what is it you are willing to let go instead of what it is you're willing to change. What could be happening right now is people can know they're around others or in environments that don't serve them, but they're frightened of what can happen on the other side if they finally let go. We've all done it. We've all experienced it. It's a human thing to do. You feel like you've found your tribe. But people that come into the Empower Global Network and they find their new tribe and they're experiencing that growth and they're experiencing what it's like to be around better people, and they find that new tribe and they're willing to let go of the old to step into the new, they're the ones that see the results. The ones that go all in with shifting their identity completely from someone that used to go out and party and drink and be around people that don't serve them with no ambition, and now they're hanging around with people that want change, want growth. They're talking about different opportunities and experiences and abundance and all this stuff. You'll see that they're the ones, ultimately, whether it's not a financial result, but a personal change result. Because something we can do, and we're all victims of, is we can make money the prize. And people think, Think and Grow Rich is only about money. No. Because like we already discussed with emotional charges in our vocabulary and in our language, when you hear rich, the first thing you think of is money, right? You hear someone's rich, you'll think money. But what about being rich in love? What about being rich in health? What about being rich in gratitude? The word rich simply just means you have a lot of. So imagine being rich in your health, prosperity, your abundance, everything. And money's a byproduct of what being rich can be. So when we start to work on how we're thinking, how we're feeling, money seems to flow into our life because we're in vibrational alignment with what we deem as success. So that's why you start to see it. Not because money is the only thing you manifest. You start to work in alignment with the vibrational laws and the emotions that you have in place, and then you'll start to see the result. And for those of you that really want to understand like your emotional scale and why is this happening to me, after this, first of all, go check out my content on my YouTube channel, like and subscribe and do all that cool stuff, and listen to the videos that I've been producing, because they're going to help you understand. Possibly one of the videos could land more than the other of where you're at now and where it is you're trying to get to. But go and look, type into Google, Ask and It Is Given, emotional scale. So Ask and It Is Given is a book by Jerry and Esther Hicks. And in there, they share the emotional scale. And I believe it's like 24 emotions, showing from the most abundant, which is like joy, love, gratitude, happiness. And then they've got the bottom, which is like depression, poverty, anger, frustration. And you can't just leap from the bottom, being depressed, to being overjoyed. Like, you can't do that in a setting where it becomes your permanent state. You can't. You have to work your way up. And it doesn't mean you got to be sat there crying, and then you got to feel angry for a little bit, and then you got to feel frustrated until you can get to happiness. Like, of course, you can move forward through it. But that's going to help you understand where it is you're at. That's going to help you build that awareness of where are my feet right now? Where am I in this present time? And how I'm feeling on a day-to-day basis through my actions, through the way I think. Is that aligning with what it is I'm trying to achieve? Is that aligning with the goals I set for myself? Because Bob Proctor always says having a goal card is important, but you have to emotionalize yourself with the goals. You have to live as if they've already been achieved, and you need to feel something when you touch them. And what is it you want to feel? As we already discussed at the start of the call, you want to feel a state of abundance. You want to feel a state of joy, which are at the highest of the scale. So how do you do it? By using that higher faculty of imagination. Because when you start to visualize what that life looks like, and at first it may feel weird, but you're going to feel so much better than where you are now. And when you say, oh, speaking from memory, how does that make sense? Have you ever concocted a scenario in your mind, a negative one, and every time you think of it, it makes you feel anxious? You think it could be anything. You could sit there and think, oh, what if this person says no to me? And then you come out with this scenario of what can happen if someone says no, or if you mess something up, or if you get rejected, what could then happen? And you build this whole story in your mind of what could happen if that was the potential outcome. And then every time you think of it, you get a physical reaction, anxiety, you feel your chest tighten, you feel your breath get shorter. Have you ever experienced that? Where you've been able to create a scenario in your mind from the negative aspect, because that's what most people do. We pretty much do everything we need to do positively naturally every single day, just on a negative scale, and we're not aware of it. That's pretty much what it is. Most of the stuff I talk about is tools that we already possess, but we've just been naturally doing them subconsciously from a negative standpoint instead of a positive one. But have you ever experienced that? Let me know. We'll wrap this call up shortly, guys. I'm not going to keep going and going, but I'm just curious. Because if people can relate to that, you can understand why building in your mind a positive version, a version where you're experiencing everything from the higher state, where you can imagine the best case scenario, and you can imagine your goals coming into fruition, and you can imagine your life becoming everything you want it to. And every time you hear a trigger, like rich, abundant, grateful, those words trigger that thought and that picture in your mind, you are going to constantly be thinking from a higher state, and you're going to be able to become so much more in alignment with your goals that the procrastination, the doom scrolling, the doubt, the self-worth issues, the self-sabotage, all of that, the lack of self-confidence is all going to be eradicated, because you have created evidence in the spiritual plane and in the emotional plane before the physical plane. So you have evidence that what you're about to do is going to work, because you've actually created the evidence yourself already from the ether, from around you. Because you're now able to paint a picture in your mind before you're holding it in your hands. And what is the saying? If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hands. So by doing this and experiencing it now, you now know that that outcome is almost guaranteed. Because you know what it feels like. Because you've been there. So you know it can happen. Because you have the evidence it can. Because you've been there in your mind. So because you've got the evidence, that's enough to back up the confidence that you can make it happen. Same way you know you can go and drive to work tomorrow with confidence. You don't have to think about it because you did it today. You got the confidence because you've experienced it before. The same way I can jump on these calls and I can talk on and on and on, and time can completely disappear from me, and I could be 52 minutes in and feel like I'm still doing an intro because I've done it before many times. But there was once a time where I had to imagine myself at this level to be able to build the confidence before the physical evidence existed. So if that's all making sense, guys, just let me know in the chat before we wrap it up. I just want to ensure that everyone's kind of understanding everything that we've discussed up until this point. Just want to check the chat's all good and just see I haven't missed anything as well. Okay, amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Appreciate you all. But with these calls, again, like For those of you, I'd love feedback. For those of you that have been on this call and you've experienced the whole thing, you're still here to the end, I would really, really love to hear your guys' feedback, whether you want to message me personally, directly, Discord, WhatsApp, whatever, and just let me know what the experience was like from a viewer's perspective. I don't want you to tell me how amazing it was or anything like that. You can share with me how this call made you feel, because of course, that's what I do it for. I do it to make sure I'm helping people, impacting, inspiring, and passing on information that I believe we should all have access to. But I want to understand the user experience as well, because I am going to be doing these calls every single Wednesday, and there will be like similar topics and whatever else, but I really want to get to the point where they're interactive, not in the sense where people are jumping on and doing all this stuff, but where we can almost say, right, this is something I would like to hear about today, and I can build an entire call around something specific that people would love to hear about, because I don't want this to just be another call in a schedule, another thing you tune into. I want this to be something where it's Wednesday, you wake up and you're like, I'm so excited for that call at 8 p.m. because I know I get to grow tonight. I'm excited for the information I get because I'm going to get the answers to what it is I'm looking for. Thank you so much for everybody that tuned in. My name's Harley. Do the work, trust the process, and I'll see you in the next one. Go check out my channel, like and subscribe, please, and let me know what videos are resonating with you most, what videos you would like to see, because this is just the beginning of the journey, and I'm so grateful that I get to share it with you guys. So love and light, enjoy your evening, and I'll see you in the next one.